This channel is supported by Truefire. Truefire is an online library of
You can get the Truefire All Access Pass for as cheap as they ever do it, the $99 thing. So just jump and do that if you're looking for the best price that you can get Truefire All Access for. There are not too many videos about this Boss pedal. I think partly because it's not the sexiest pedal ever made. The Boss line selector. Now, I've not really even considered this pedal before because I think the things that I've seen more of and gets way more kind of coverage is kind of GigRig stuff, you know, bits and pieces that are like this more elaborate switching. But this is actually quite an interesting piece of gear. Now, John asked me if I wanted to check this out, and he explained to me how he uses a line selector, and in this video I kind of want to explore it a little bit more because I think it's actually quite an interesting pedal. Especially, there's one key use for this, or two key uses that I think are quite interesting. One is using it to blend two different sources of sound. Obviously there are other, you know, more standard uses for it live, which, you know, like switching between an acoustic guitar and electric guitar, different line selections like that. But blending two different sounds, like of two drive pedals, so in this video mostly I'm going to be blending like a fuzz with a drive pedal. But also, if you're using plugins within your DAW and going direct at home, which I think more and more of us are doing at this point, this could be a really easy and straightforward way to switch between two different tones. You just have two audio tracks set up, you know, plug into 1 and 2 and have different settings, like on Helix Native if you're using that, or switching between two different archetypes. And without having to do it with a mouse click, just having this on the floor really keep you in that flow in a way that actually, oftentimes in the digital audio workstation type thing, it kind of takes you out of it because you're like at your computer and you have to click. This, you know, with a line selector, you could click between 3 different tones without having to set up anything particularly difficult. So it's kind of interesting in that regard too. Here's a pedal that I really never see anyone discuss. This is the LS2. Now, at the moment here, I've got it set up in AB mode. So I've seen it on some pros boards, but I've never seen one in real life. And John Martin said, do you want to check this out? And I was like, yeah, why not? So I've got two pedals here. I've got an HRM. You can hear that. And I got a jam red mark. So this could have a role in a switcher, right? And we've also got independent level adjustment for each. Now, so that's kind of one use case, an AB switcher. So we've now got A or bypass, B and bypass, okay, now we've got A plus B. That's like cycling through A, B, bypass. So just one switch to cycle through three. Now this is what's interesting to me. So we now got a combination of two. Two tones that we can actually then balance. So this is the A plus B mix. I did actually see Aaron Marshall talk about this in the fractal space. So it's kind of like a really interesting blending. So I can get like the fuzzier tone, but also like that more mid-range focus that I'm comfortable playing. Aaron Marshall said like a kind of tidier. Like if I take that out again. Another thing you could consider it be like a way to blend like delay and overdrive. Yeah, pedal I've never really seen anyone talking about on YouTube. I think this is pretty fascinating. This is how John is using it, because I think he goes direct and uses plugins. So say you had one of the things that kind of I feel like when I'm using, because I do this all the time, Helix Native is like, well, what if I wanted to switch between 2 settings? I'm not going to set up, you know, MIDI foot switching stuff like that. I don't necessarily want to plug in like a complicated piece of hardware or whatever. I want something that can quickly do the job. All I'm doing here, got the line selector 2 plugged into 2 separate tracks. One is this clean tone. The other, if I set it to output select, then I've just got A, B. But I could also have a third output that would just be the kind of straightforward clean. I've seen these on so many pros boards though. Like I remember you'd see like Yngwie Malmsteen or Eric Johnson, all of these guys that had like elaborate switching rigs or like multiple amp setups seem to have one of these on their board. So I'm really, yeah, they've totally for me fallen off of the radar for so long, but actually a really useful pedal in a lot of ways.
Yeah.